This important speech was delivered at Dadar in 1936, and the speech is kind of a sequel to the resolution that was passed in Evla in 1935, where Dr. Baba Ambedkar declared that he won't die a Hindu. And in order to think further on the issue of change or conversion, a meeting was convened at Dadar, and Dr. Baba Ambedkar gave this speech in front of the audience of 35,000 people, and also people from various religions were present in this particular conference. So the title of the speech was "What Way Emancipation?" and the title in itself is indicative of the fact that Dr. Baba Ambedkar was talking about emancipation. That means liberty. And in one instance, Dr. Baba Ambedkar defined that the aim of his entire movement is to achieve liberty for the untouchables. So if we look at the three words, what way emancipation? It's about emancipation, it's about the method to emancipate. So naturally the question is, what were people bounded by? What was the force that made the untouchables the untouchables? What was the force that forced them to slavery? And when Dr. Baba analyzed these facts as to what was the factor that enslaved or forced the people into the forced slavery, was the religion, and that was undoubtedly the Hindu religion. So quite very early on, Dr. Baba Ambedkar made it a point to show very clearly that the untouchables were not the part and parcel of Hindus. And that was one of his main point of argument when he went to the round table conferences, where his rallying point was that the untouchables were not the part of the Hindus. So naturally, the path to emancipation begins with giving up of the factor that forced people to slavery. So the path to emancipation must begin with renouncing Hinduism. So that was the beginning of the way to freedom for the untouchables. And he has cited various reasons as to why the untouchables can't be Hindus. The first factor is that because it forces them into the slavery, they can't be Hindus. But when he looks deeper into the reasons as to why the untouchables can't be Hindus, he says that there is no material and spiritual aspects in Hinduism. There is no liberty, equality and fraternity in Hinduism. There is no reasoning in Hinduism. What they have to follow is just the dictates of the books, and therefore it is not conducive to any fulfillment of the material or the spiritual needs of the untouchables, and therefore there is no point in being a Hindu. And then we have went into various regions as to why Dr. Baba Ambedkar did not want to be Hindu religion. And then we came to a stage where Dr. Baba Ambedkar discusses a very important issue, and that issue is still relevant. What is first, progress or conversion? So some people advocate that there is a need of economic progress, and if the economic progress is made, naturally the untouchables will be free. Or for example, if there is educational progress, the untouchables will be free. And Dr. Ambedkar said that these two are very important, like progress in the economic matters, progress in the educational matters, and the progress in the several areas of life are important. But if we are talking about the primacy of which will come in the beginning, Dr. Ambedkar argues that the conversion will be the primary. He says that why you can't be a successful man in the business? Because the religion treats you as an untouchable. And therefore, however hard you try to improve your economic condition, the fact of untouchability comes into play and you can't really succeed in your businesses or even in your economic activities. He applies quite a logic in order to explain as to why education cannot be the primary factor in emancipation. People think that if you develop economically, you will be emancipated. If you develop educationally, you will be emancipated. Dr. Ambedkar says, no, it's not like that. He says, some of your young ones are trying to get education and they are collecting money for this purpose from whatever source they find proper. Due to this temptation of money, some are inclined to remain the untouchables and make their progress. I wish to ask one question to those youngsters after completion of education. If you do not get the job suited to your qualification, what will you do of your education? What is the reason that most of our educated persons are unemployed today? To me, the main cause for this unemployment is untouchability alone. So unless you do away with the label of untouchability, you can't really make progress in the economic area nor in the educational area. It doesn't mean, or Dr. Ambedkar doesn't want to say that these issues are not important. He says they are very important. But if we are talking about what first? If we are talking about the primal factor, or if we are talking about the primacy of certain things, then the conversion is the first factor. Doing away with the untouchable identity is the first factor. Cutting off all the ties with Hindu religion and the religion that enslaves the people is the primary condition. It doesn't mean that other conditions are not important. But if you weigh them on the scale of importance, you will find that the conversion is more important than mere progress in the educational area or mere progress in the economic area. And the history has proved this fact quite right. As we can see what happened after 50 years, the difference between the people who have chosen this path and the people who have not chosen this path. Because it has a very strong psychological implication. Mere change or mere cutting away from that particular hell of caste, and even walking or even beginning to walk on the new path is itself so conducive and so emancipatory in itself. It's already the beginning of the liberty. So weighing all these factors, Dr. Ambedkar considers that the conversion is more important than the economic progress or the and then Dr. Ambedkar turns. Now you can imagine that there are 35,000 people sitting in front of him, listening to him for quite a long time, and Dr. Ambedkar is articulating in a very clear manner, in a manner which will be legible to the people, in a manner which will communicate to the people in a very clear tone. So naturally, because of the advances that Dr. Ambedkar made beginning with the movement in 1990, there are certain gains and there are certain gains, so-called social gains, due to the historical factors. So Dr. Ambedkar turns to the doubt about conversion. He says, okay, people will convert, but they have certain doubts. In the first place, it has been heard that some of the Mahars are worried as to what will be the fate of their Watan. What will happen to Mahar Watan? Some Mahars were doubtful about the fate of their Watan. It has also been heard that the high caste Hindus opposing to the conversion have threatened the Mahars in the villages that they will be deprived of their services as village servants if they leave the Hindu religion. All of you are aware that I am least worried if the Mahar Watan is abolished, because Dr. Ambedkar has put a bill in the Bombay Legislative Assembly in order to abolish the Mahar Watan, because according to Dr. Ambedkar, the Mahar Watan enslaved the Mahars further. It didn't give them any economic gain, but it was a servitude, it was a service without any remuneration, and therefore Dr. Ambedkar opposed the Mahar Watans, and as a matter of fact, he tabled a bill in the parliament for abolition of the Mahar Watan. So he said that I am not very much concerned about Mahar Watan, but if you are concerned with the Mahar Watan, let me assure you that after conversion, your Watan will not go. After conversion, nothing will happen to your right of a village servant. He says, and he cited the Act of 1850. The Act of 1850 can be referred here. Under the provisions of this Act, rights of a person as a successor and property are not affected by virtue of his conversion. Those who feel this reference of law as insufficient, they have to take into consideration the circumstances prevalent in Nagar district. A number of persons from the Mahar community in this district have become Christians, and at some places in one family some are Christians, while others still remained as Mahars. However, the Watan rights of these converted Christians have not vanished. This may be confirmed from the Mahars of Nagar. So none should fear that their Watan will come in peril by conversion. So he said, it's a statutory law that if you convert to the religion, your right, your hereditary right of a village servant will not vanish. It will still remain there. So you don't worry about that. Dr. Ambedkar said he is not bothered about the Mahar Watan. The better it's gone. But even if you are concerned with it, the law ensures you that you will continue to have the right of a village servant. And the second and the most important doubt that the people had, which Dr. Ambedkar thought, that what will happen to their political safeguards. Because prior to this conference, we have seen a long battle which was fought in the round table conferences, where there were very significant political gains were achieved. So people were naturally concerned as to what will happen to the political safeguards that came in a way through the 1935 Act, the Government of India Act 1935. So Dr. Ambedkar said that those rights are not given to you because you are a part of Hinduism. I got those rights claiming that you are a separate constituency from the Hindus. Therefore, you should not fear that your political safeguards will vanish if you convert to other religion. He said that if you are 50%, if you become Muslims, 15% will be the addition in the seats of the Muslims. So he said that the political safeguards are given to you on the basis of your population. It has nothing to do with your religion. So that is the first argument Dr. Ambedkar put forth. Secondly, he said, now it's a very keen legal mind in action. He said, okay, now understand a case where you remain a Hindu, and in the future the Hindus declare that by law we have abolished untouchability. Now we don't consider you untouchables, you are just like us. So why do you need the special privileges now? So he said, even to safeguard politically, even to have the political safeguard, it is very important to convert. If you can understand the twist of this logic, that You remain a Hindu, and then in the future the Hindus tell you that, okay, we have abolished the untouchability by law, now you are no longer untouchables. You are just part of us. So you are poor, you have not good living conditions, but you are not untouchable because by law we have abolished the untouchability. Now you are just like us, so you don't need any political safeguards. And that was a very second important point that Baba Ambedkar said. And the third, and to my mind, the most important argument which Dr. Baba Ambedkar put forth was about the social strength. He said that the political safeguards that you have by the communal award, I got it for 20 years. And the clause, in the legal language it is called the sunset clause, that certain laws have got the force till certain period of time. So the communal award had the force of 20 years, and after 20 years it was to be automatically relapsed or lapsed. But the Government of India Act 1935 had no such time constant. It was to go on and on, on and on, on and on. Dr. Baba Ambedkar said that the political safeguards might be gone one day. It is not that they will remain there perpetually. Then what are you going to do? Where are you going to rely on? What are you going to rely on? Only on your social strength. And only conversion can build your social strength. Political safeguards can't build your social strength. So he said that more than political safeguards, what is important is the conversion by way of which you will be socially strong. And he said that if you are socially strong, political safeguards and all other things will eventually follow. So he said, do not fear losing your political safeguards. If you have doubts about losing your political safeguards, Dr. Baba Ambedkar told his followers that they don't have to worry at all about the political safeguards. Because more than political safeguards, more than economic development, more than educational development, what is important really is to convert. So he says, if you remain in the Hindu religion, you will lose your political safeguards. If you do not want to lose your political safeguards, do conversion. They will be permanent only by conversion. Because now you have marked out a very clear-cut path away from the Hindus. You can no longer be fooled by the Hindus that you are the part and parcel of their society. So with this very clear argumentation, Dr. Baba Ambedkar tried to clear the doubts among the minds of the people who were present on that occasion. But here is more dramatic part which followed this argumentation. He said, in conclusion, he said, and this is quite very inspiring, my conversion is sure. My conversion is sure. My conversion is not for any material gain. There is nothing which I cannot achieve by remaining as an untouchable. There is nothing. He is so intellectually sound. He is so well read. He is so equipped with all tools. He is so professional. There is nothing lies behind his scope of achievements. He said, in the material sphere, there is nothing which I cannot achieve by remaining as an untouchable. Nothing but spirituality is at the base of my conversion. It's a very, if we underline or if we put a tab on this sentence, it's a very important sentence. Nothing but spirituality at the base of my conversion. The Hindu religion does not appeal to my region. The Hindu religion does not appeal to my self-respect. However, for you, for spiritual as well as for material gains, the conversion is must. Some persons mock and laugh at the idea of the conversion for material gain. I do not feel hesitant in calling such persons as fools. A religion which preaches what will happen or what will not to soul after death may be useful for the rich. They may entertain themselves by thinking over such religion at their own leisure. And then he goes on, and he summarizes in a very pinching language. He says, what is the use of this rich and idle people's Vedanta to the poor? What is the use of the speculative theories? What is the use of the speculative religion? What is the use of the idle imagination to the poor people? They need something concrete. They need something which will make sense to them. They need something which will bring them out of the slavery. So this shows the inner working of the mind of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. This shows the confidence that he has developed. In a sense, it's a very important statement. There is nothing which I cannot achieve by remaining as an untouchable. Now he is a person who will not boast. He is the realist to the core. He knows his limits. He knows his depth. He is very conscious of his own inner strength. He knows that there is nothing that he cannot achieve. And therefore he says that his intention is purely spiritual. It has nothing to do with the material development as far as he himself is concerned. But as far as the people in that assembly are concerned, they must look at the conversion not just from the spiritual point of view, but also from the material point of view. And here he goes on and on. He says, I tell you specifically that man is not for religion. Now this single sentence captures the essence of all various religions. Because all various religions try to tell people that the religion, man is for religion. Babasaheb says religion is for man. And then these are very important, emphatic, imperative sentences that now I am going to repeat. To become human, convert yourself. To get organized, convert yourself. To achieve strength, convert yourself. To secure equality, convert yourself. To get liberty, convert yourself. To make your domestic life happy, convert yourself. So in a very broad sweep, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has covered from the social, political life to even the domestic life. He says, to make your domestic life happy, convert yourself. So you can see the implications of the Hindu psychology even in the domestic matters. It goes down to that. Even the domestic lives are not happy because the people are so imbued in the Hindu religion. And there are some challenging sentences that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar utters after this invocation. He invokes, he says, why do you remain in that religion which does not treat you as a human being? Why do you remain in that religion which does not allow you to educate? Why do you remain in that religion which prohibits you from entering a temple? Why do you remain in that religion which prohibits you from water? Why do you remain in that religion which obstructs you from getting a job? Why do you remain in that religion which insults you at every step? And now in a very subtle reworking of the definition of the religion, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar says, a religion which prohibits righteous relations between man and man is not a religion but a display of force. A very subtle reworking of the definition of the religion. I am going to read it again. A religion which prohibits righteous relations between man and man is not a religion but a display of force. So by this very definition, Hinduism becomes a religion or the display of force. A religion which does not recognize a man as a human being is not a religion but a disease. It's not a religion, it's a disease. A religion which allows the touch of animals but prohibits the touch of human beings is not a religion but a mockery. A religion which precludes one class from education, forbids to accumulate wealth, to bear arms, is not a religion but a mockery of the life of human being. Very strong statements, but very factual. A religion that compels the illiterate to be illiterate and the poor to be poor is not a religion but a punishment. So we can see some kind of a qualifying adjectives here like punishment, mockery, disease, display of force. All these traits or the words refer to the Hindu religion. It's a mockery. It's a display of force. It's a disease. It's a punishment. Now he says that I have enumerated all these factual things in front of you, and now that he is not going to force you to arrive at the decision. He said, I have made my decision, but I am not going to force you to follow me. I am not going to ask you to believe what I told you. You deeply think over what I said, he said. You don't have to accept it. You think very deeply over what I have said. I feel that to please the masses and gain the popularity is good for a common man but not for a leader. I consider one as a leader who without fear or favor, without popular accusation, tells the people what is good and what is bad for them. It's my duty to tell you what is good for you even if you don't like it. I must do my duty. And now I have done it. It's now up to you to decide and discharge your responsibility. So he says that my scheme of division of this problem of conversion is twofold. The first prong of this problem is you have to decide first whether to leave the Hindu religion or to remain in it. That is the first problem. So you have to think over the first problem whether you have to be a Hindu or leave it. That is the first problem. And then the second part of the problem will be discussed later as to which religion or whether we can have a new religion. So these are the possibilities which Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar is expressing without giving any clear-cut indication of what religion he was to choose. This speech was given in 1936. So here he is telling people that there are two aspects of the problem. The first is whether to leave Hinduism or not. If you come at the conclusion of this first part, then Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar said that I will marshal all my energies to think over which religion or a new religion they are going to choose. If the decision is taken in favor of the conversion and the people start embracing any religion they like individually, I will not intervene in your conversion. I wish you all to join me. Whatever religion we may accept, I am prepared to put all my sincere efforts and labor for the welfare of our people in that religion. You should not, however, be led away by emotion and follow me only because I say so. You should consent only if it appeals to your reason. I will not at all feel sorry if you decide not to join me. Rather, I will feel relieved of the responsibility. You have to keep in mind that this is therefore a crucial occasion. Your today's decision will carve out a path for prosperity of your future generations. If you decide today to get liberated, your future generations will definitely be liberated. If you decide to remain slaves, your future generation will also be slaves. Hence, yours is the most difficult task. So you have to decide today whether you want to be Hindu or not. And after making this long speech, touching on various subjects, clarifying various meanings, clarifying various doubts, Dr. Ambedkar finally comes to the last message. I am going to read the last message thorough and thorough, because I think that captures the pith of the whole path. Because the speech is titled as what way? Emancipation. And I think this 3 paragraphs captures the sense of the path. Be thy own light. Be thy own light. Be your own light. While thinking over what message should I give you on this occasion, I recollected the message given by the Lord Buddha to his Bhikkhu Sangha just before his Mahaparinirvan, and which has been quoted in Mahaparinirvan Sutta. Once the Bhagwan, after having recovered from illness, was resting on a seat under a tree. His disciple, Venerable Anand, went to the Buddha, and having saluted, sat beside him, said, I have seen the Lord in illness as well as in happiness, but from the present illness of the Lord, my body has become heavy like a lead. My mind is not in peace. I can't concentrate on the Dhamma, but I feel consolation and satisfaction that the Lord will not attain the Parinibbana unless the message is given to the Sangha. This is a very famous passage in the Mahaparinirvan Sutta. It is one of the longest sutta in the Digha Nikaya, and this sutta is very important even in terms of understanding the political situation of India of that time. It's filled with lots of references to the teachings of the Buddha. It is the sutta which has sort of very systematic gradation of the various teachings of the Buddha. Buddha gave his teachings in a very summary form in this sutta. So the fact that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar had studied this sutta indicates that he had thorough grasp over the teachings of the Buddha. Here in this sutta there are the 37 wings of enlightenment, which includes Eightfold Path, which includes all various teachings of the Buddha, 7 Bodhyanga, Panchadharmendriya. These are all technical teachings which are taught by the Buddha in a very graded manner in this Mahaparinirvan Sutta, and this is one of the last passages of that particular very beautiful sutta. So after Ananda talking to the Buddha like this, that I am very sad, and I think that that you will not attain to Mahaparinirvan unless you give your message to the Sangha. Then the Lord replied thus, Anand, what does the Sangha expect from me? Anand, I have preached the Dhamma with an open heart, without concealing anything. I haven't concealed anything. The Tathagat has not kept anything concealed as some other teachers do. So Anand, what more can Tathagat tell the Bhikkhu Sangha? So Anand, be self-illuminating like the sun. Don't be dependent for the light like the earth. Believe in yourself. Don't be dependent on others. Be truthful. Always take refuge in the truth and do not surrender to anybody. Now this shows the independence of the mind, not to be governed by others, not to be governed by what others think, not to be governed by the traditions, not to be governed by the religions, not to be governed by the customs, but to be free to choose of our own is the act of independence, is the real freedom that we have seen, the freedom of mind, complete independence, not controlled by others, not controlled by the views and the passions of others. Completely be of our own self, that is the freedom. And Dr. Ambedkar in the last paragraph says, I also take refuge in the words of the Buddha. He says that I also take refuge in the words of the Buddha. He says, be your own guide. Take refuge in your own reason. Do not listen to the advice of others. Do not succumb to others. Do not succumb to others. Be truthful. Take refuge in truth. Never surrender to anything. Because if you surrender to anything other than the truth, you are a slave. So he says, never surrender to anything. If you keep in mind this message of Lord Buddha at this juncture, I am sure your decision will not be wrong. So with this particular quote from Mahaparinirvana Sutta, Dr. Ambedkar concluded his very important speech of 1936.